Thanks so much for having me. There is a passage in Hemingway's The Sun Also Rises where one character says to the other, how did you go bankrupt? And the other one says, two ways, gradually and then suddenly. And if you think about that, the reason you go bankrupt gradually and then suddenly is the suddenly part happens when people stop lending you money. When people take a good look at your balance sheet and realize that you are already de facto bankrupt and then you can't keep up the pretense any longer. I started writing the book that became The Squandering of America in 2004, 2005, and I was interested in the connection between two things. The widening inequality and insecurity that face most Americans, and the deregulation of our financial system, and the prevalent, ubiquitous at the time philosophy of market fundamentalism. The idea that markets could do nothing wrong and that governments could do nothing right. And I had explored this in an earlier book called Everything for Sale, The Virtues and Limits of Markets, where I looked hard at what realms of the economy work as markets as we study them in economics courses, where supply and demand determines price and allocate resources efficiently, and what realms of the economy don't work as markets. And I concluded that 60–70% of the economy works perfectly well as a market. But if you look at education and health and research and development, public infrastructure, financial markets themselves, you can't trust markets to allocate resources efficiently. You can't trust markets to regulate themselves. They over-invest in things that pollute. They under-invest in things that lead to growth, like education and research and development. They under-invest in things that we need as a society, like public health. And in the case of financial institutions, you need the stabilizing and supervising role of government so that financial markets don't turn into casinos. Now, we learned this in the 30 years following 1932, and we gradually forgot it in the 30 years that began in the late 70s. And I argued in The Squandering of America that this was not only creating a very unequal and insecure and unattractive society, but it was also laying the seeds of a second Great Depression. It was laying the seeds of a second financial catastrophe.